Welcome to episode 66 of the Fly Route Podcast. I am your host, Anthony, aka Tony Playboy, aka Kenny Got That Pay, aka Joe Judgment Day, and I am joined here by a special guest.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself. You got any AKAs?
Hey, it's Domo, aka Domo the Political Plug. You already know, aka Mr. Killing, aka Hey, I get it in. You know what I mean? So we here. I'm here.
Right.
I usually be on that political dialogue, but today it's a lot of shit I want to touch on around this time of the season anyway. You know what I'm saying? Let's go Chiefs. And always I've been wearing this shit for 2 years. I'm not about to be on those.
Y'all ain't getting another one no time soon.
Hey, we gonna talk about it.
All right. We got an exciting show for you today. We are going to get into our reactions to Black Monday and all the coaches that got fired. We are going to give you the fly route for the playoff bracket for the NFL, who we think is going to win the Super Bowl. Hey, let's do it. Also, we're going to give you the best and worst free agent signings of the 2021-2022 NFL season. And last, but definitely not least, we are going to give a big Ballers Bouquet to Tyrann Mathieu of the Kansas City Chiefs.
The Fly Route Pod. The Fly Route Pod. The Fly Route Pod. The Fly Route Pod.
Y'all is Tony Playboy.
We got to get into Black Monday, right? So a lot of guys got fired, and rightfully so. But I want to start with the one dude that got fired that raised everybody's eyebrows. Brian Flores in Miami, coming off winning 8 of his last 9 games this season.
Did not surprise me.
Back-to-back winning seasons.
I may have been the only person not surprised.
I was grossly shocked. Like, you might have been the only person not surprised. Like, I try to predict all the people that was getting fired last week on the pod. To be fair, all of them got fired besides Pete Carroll, but we'll see what happens with that. And then Brian Flores got put up in there. Like, I did not see this one coming considering 2 back-to-back winning seasons. Like, they didn't make the playoffs, but like the Dolphins were a dumpster fire. It took them one season where they had a losing record. Then they went back-to-back winning records. And they were like, nah, not this guy. Not the guy that has us winning more games than we lose. We good.
This is the thing about the Dolphins. Talk about garbage organizations. There were, and what's going to be the theme of this of all of these firings? Quarterback, and not just bad quarterback play, but confusing quarterback situations. You feel me? Very confusing quarterback situations. If you look at what was going on in Miami, first off, the reports that come out. Flores wanted Herbert. Flores wanted Justin Herbert. Ownership wanted Tua. Okay, they get him. It's not like that. We dealing with surgeries. We playing backups after backups. We winning though. We winning
because of the defense, which is his side of the ball.
But the offense is doing doing just enough. The offense isn't losing games.
Yes,
right. Which is what you want from your offense. If you got that type of phenomenal defense, don't give up the game. Offense, right? They was doing their thing. Then you have the situation in Houston, right? We got another quarterback we can move on. What happens? I want to stick with Tua.
I don't blame them for that because, like, you still got to settle Deshaun Watson's whole case and whatnot. Like, they're like, I want to do the due diligence.
I don't trust none of that, though. I don't trust none of that.
You don't got to trust it, but like, you don't want to be in a situation where you give Houston a haul for Deshaun Watson and then he gets commissioner exempt listed, right? And then he can't play. Like, that's what they're trying to avoid.
But with the level of like what he was accused of, if he was going to be commissioner exempt listed, he would have been on there.
No, I feel like the NFL is taking the route of we won't do anything because he ain't gonna play anyway. So like we can just act like
because Deshaun Watson been out of mind.
Yeah, exactly. Like if he was gonna play, they probably would have tipped their hand to do something. But they're like, "Hey, if he's not gonna play, we just gonna leave this joint alone for right now. We ain't got to take no heat for it. We ain't got to deal with no people being mad at us. Like he already said he not playing, so he is commissioner exempt listed himself, but with the paycheck, and that ain't our paycheck, so we ain't mad at it, right? Like so, but you don't want to be in a situation where you trade for Deshaun Watson, you try to start him, and they're like, "Now hold up." Sit that down real quick, and now you like, oh, we done gave up 3 first-round draft picks. We might have had to give
It's
them
a
2 or
risk.
2. Yeah,
It's a risk. It's definitely a risk. But that still was something that caused the rift between Flores and
Chris
leadership,
Greer,
the owners, yeah. And
Chris Greer,
so
GM,
and so they was ready to it was like, all right, we clearly, and we ain't make the playoffs. Yeah, we clearly like this is enough of a risk. Y'all, I feel like even if they would have made the playoffs and lost in the first round, it still would have been the same outcome. It's like we
they
clearly
made up their mind.
Yeah, like we're not trying to go in the same direction. And I think they know that they have great talent and that he's gonna be fine. I think they also know that. That's why they just like, this just ain't a good fit for us. You feel me? So we just go ahead, instead of draw this shit out, we're gonna go ahead and let you be the pick of the litter. You know what I mean? As we try to move forward and get somebody that, and it's gonna work out terribly for them. Terribly.
Yeah, it felt real Jim Caldwell to me. Like I could see, it did. I could see I could see the Dolphins going on a lion style run of just being absolutely ass. Because the only thing that has been constant through Chris Greer's tenure as the GM there, absent the two of the 3 years they had Brian Flores, is that they were absolute ass. Like we saw them ruin Ryan Tannehill with Adam Gase, right? Adam Gase went on to his second stop and proved that he was a bad coach the first and
Why
second
is
time.
Tannehill the number 1 seed in the fucking AFC?
Balling because of good choices and good coaching and good personnel and the Titans. So really? They might ruin Tua after this. That's
why you can't trust. Like it's certain organizations that you cannot trust the outcome of the talent based on everything else around it. Like Tannehill's success, really since he left Miami, is a perfect example of that. But he's really he's not just like Tom Brady-esque, right? He's but he can win games.
Exactly. He shows that he can win you games, not just not lose you games,
right?
Which he couldn't even do in Miami because they were so bad. He could win them games. Like when Derrick Henry went out, everybody was like, "Oh, now we're gonna see Ryan Tannehill gonna get exposed." He went 6-3. So it's not even like, oh, when you don't have the best back in football behind you, wide receiver 1 is consistently hurting AJ Brown. Wide receiver 2 is also hurting Julio Jones, and you throwing to Anthony Fisker and you winning games.
Then also speak to how good of a coach Mike Vrabel is, though. Just
facts. That's my coach of the year, undeniably. Undeniably, got to give him his flowers. We shipped down to a former coach of the year. Chicago Bears Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace both get the boot. I was actually so much more excited because everybody knew Matt Nagy was getting fired, right? But I was so much more excited that we doubled up and fired fired Pace and Nagy at the same time, right?
Yo. And but again, what's the thing?
Quarterback play. It's weird because our quarterback situation is solved now. That's the thing. We got Justin Fields. We are confident in Justin Fields. He got better as the year went on, but he got better.
They got put in a position where they had to. They got put in a position where they had to. I mean, I think that when you're waffling between Andy Dalton and fucking Justin Fields, bro. When you're it's a difference between Andy Dalton isn't motherfucking Alex Smith. I think that's where they get it wrong. They think we want to go to Patrick Mahomes route, watch somebody. You don't want to pick up nothing Andy Dalton does.
That's Andy Dalton was a consistent starter for near how long in Cincinnati, making the playoffs multiple times. He ain't win no playoff games.
Are we doing this?
Look, I think I believe that Andy Dalton gets a bad rap for being put in this particular situation of having to start over Justin Fields when he obviously shouldn't have, and being made promises, etc. But
It was Matt Nagy's fault.
And Ryan Pace, 100%, and that's why the motherfuckers is gone, right?
Exactly.
Like they put him in a bad spot by promising him things they shouldn't have, especially after they drafted a quarterback in the first round, but they promised him before that. Like I'm happy they both gone. It's just like, what happens now? Because like we got a team that has a bunch of good defensive players, right, and a lot of young offensive talent, but then a lot of cap casualties around there. It's like, who do you bring in a general manager? Who do you bring in a head coach? How do they reshape these? Because the one thing for me is like, you need to bring in an offensive-minded head coach. Like, it's weird because we talk about Brian Flores here. I don't want Brian Flores, and it's hard to say that because even when we had an offensive-minded coach who wasn't all that great in Matt Nagy, our defense still kept performing. The talent that we have there, the staff that we have there is good, right? We need a person that comes in, fixes the offense, comes in and develops Justin Fields. Brian Flores is a lot of things. I'm not calling him a quarterback developer. And that's the problem. I would take a Harbaugh. I would actually also take a Brian Dable because of what he's done with Josh Allen. And I like Brian Flores, and I think Brian Flores is probably the best overall coach on the market. I'm not sure if he's the best coach for Chicago. Like, that brings me to someone like Vic Fangio, and I feel bad for Fangio, bruh. I feel so bad for Fangio, particularly because, like, he ain't never have a chance.
Is it that he didn't have a chance, or Fangio is the worst example of not being able to figure out the fucking quarterback situation?
It's not his fault. Like, okay, so this is something that I talked about on last week's episode. It's not his fault. It's John Elway's fault because Fangio had 3 years there, but like Elway had been fucking up the quarterback position consistently since Peyton left. Like Trevor Siemian, really? Like he was supposed to get it done with Trevor Siemian. He was supposed to get it done with Drew Lock. He was supposed to get it done with Paxton Lynch. Like you see what I'm saying? Like Teddy Bridgewater was far and away the best quarterback that he had, like his entire tenure as a head coach.
As a Chiefs fan, I don't really, I'm hard on the Broncos. Like, I'm hard on AFC West. Period. Fuck all of them. Do we cuss on here, by the way?
Yeah,
I was a big cussing. But to be fair though, like it is a uphill it's a fight because when you're looking for a quarterback to compete with Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and David Carr. Mm-hmm. Like, and David Carr is no slouch. Derek, excuse me. Yeah, Derek Carr. David was his brother. Yeah, trash. He was terrible. David Carr was terrible. Derek Carr.
Yeah, but he had to play for the Texans though. Like,
and he played for the Panthers too. That's why I know he was terrible. But Derek Carr, he's no slouch. I mean, to make the playoffs with with an interim head coach, you know what I mean, in that division, you feel me? So Fangio really had to find some like A1 talent to be competitive. And so I get you in terms of like him, like it not really being his fault, but I mean, like, it's just like Sailor in New York. The what the road looked like. And if you are not fully invested in that, it's not gonna look good for you.
Yeah, I'm with you, but like I feel like, I mean, there's a reason why Elway had to step down for being GM. And I feel like the same reason why he had to step down from GM, not being able to get the quarterback right, is the same reason why Fangio got fired. Because Fangio consistently, as a defensive guy, kept having great defenses, good running games, and they just couldn't get the quarterback to go. Yeah, it's everything but quarterback, right? And I feel like the next dude that gets the Denver job, unless they draft or trade for like upgraded quarterback, is going to be in the same situation as Fangio and be out in the same amount of time. Like, that is a carousel until they get that right.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard. Yeah,
especially with the competition in the AFC West. You're not wrong. Yeah. You're not wrong. Like, that leads us to like the one team here that like really didn't have a huge quarterback issue, which is Mike Zimmer, who also got fired along with the GM in Minnesota. Right.
When you said who did you compare Flores getting fired to? Who did you compare it to?
Jim Caldwell.
That's who I feel like Zimmer being fired. It felt like when Caldwell got fired because I feel like they weren't bad. Like the Vikings aren't a bad team. They beat Aaron Rodgers. They beat the Packers. Like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they have great talent. It's I think that at the quarterback position, they're just that mediocre. Like you've reached your cap, what you can get out of him, and I mean all that guaranteed bread. What do you do?
Hey, yo, I fuss with the way Kirk Cousins do business, though.
Like, what
Like
do you
that man
do?
said, I get paid and paid in full on day one.
Like,
I can't knock Kirk Cousins ever because that is some gay. Like after he got franchise tagged by Washington, he's like, look, from now on, I get
I
all
want
my
it
bread up
all.
front, day one, cash the check, and I can't ever be mad at a player that runs like that.
But you see, but that's exactly why they had to get Zimmer out of there, is because it's like this is about what everybody else expected from Cousins. Like, this this is really about like so the fact that like we felt like all right, y'all like we made the decision like to be that invested in Kirk Cousins. So yeah, we gotta do something different. We gotta do something different.
I feel like the final straws of the things that might have got Zimmer fired here is like they were in prime position to make the playoffs. Then they played the Packers the second time. They need to win this game or they're out. And of
Mhm.
course, Kirk Cousins gets COVID and can't play, especially because he's unvaccinated. And then instead of playing
I
Kellen
didn't know
Mond,
Cousins was unvaccinated. Yeah,
yeah,
I
he
didn't.
unvaccinated. So like he had no chance of coming back. Like so once he got that shit, they were without a quarterback guaranteed. And that put him in a big disadvantage in a win to stay in the race type of situation. And then he plays Sean Mannion, who has been like he's like 30, right? Been in the NFL forever, instead of the guy they drafted, Kellen Mond. That year, second round pick, they drafted Kellen Mond. He didn't play Kellen Mond. And they're like experienced, but like Sean Mannion only had two more starts than Kellen Mond when he started that game this year at like 30 plus years old. And they just spent a second round pick on a quarterback. And I feel like that was the moment when they was like, all right, get this nigga out of here, bruh. Like
I mean, it has to be. It has to be because because you don't get fired. Coaches don't get fired off one season.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, but usually by the time you get to the end of that season, like it's either like we've seen enough or we starting to turn it around. And so again, it's like you can only like mediocrity only takes you so far, right? Like you're not gonna keep paying somebody big money to be mediocre. You either get rid of them and bring somebody else that can, they can get a job done, or you're gonna show us another level. And like Zimmer just couldn't do that. So he was the one I felt the most sorry for.
Dang, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, mine was Fangio. The last guy here, and I think this is a guy that nobody feels sorry for, was Joe Judge and Dave Gettleman getting the boot for the Giants. I mean,
I
they
think
went
what happened with
4-13.
I think what happened with Judge is the same thing that happened with remember when the Rams were moving from St. Louis to LA?
Yeah.
And they weren't firing who was the coach?
Oh, it was Fisher? Jeff
Fisher.
Fisher?
Yeah, Jeff
Yes.
Fisher. They weren't firing Jeff Fisher, and the media went crazy. Like they was just like, "What? They bringing Fisher with him? Fisher's coming to LA? Why? Wait, why
Yeah.
is he getting another season?" And then they was like, "Yeah, I think it's the same thing. I
They
think
got bullied. They saw Brian
yeah,
Flores get fired, and everybody was like,
yeah."
yo, this nigga Joe Judge got a job still?
Because he wasn't with that first round of firings. Like when everything came out, like
Mm-hmm.
after the Giants and everybody and their leadership met up, there was no news.
Yeah, the GM retired on
Right,
Monday. All the other coaches get fired on Monday. Joe Judge does not get fired until Tuesday.
right,
Yeah.
and that Monday, like everybody's like, hmm.
How this
This
dude
is
out
it.
here with a job?
Yeah, yeah. This is interesting, right? I mean, and again, Danny Dimes is not what it is, man.
Mhm.
Danny Dimes is not what it is.
But then he got
Wrong
hurt
call.
this season. They were trying to play Mike Glennon. Then Mike Glennon got hurt. And then they were trying to play Jake Fromm. Like, boy, the Giants had no good luck this season.
Nothing. Ain't been able to do nothing with do nothing with Saquon, and Saquon staying injured.
I'm just happy Saquon made it through the season for the most part. Like, that was big. You got to take small wins when you're the Giants.
Yeah, like finally. But that's what I'm saying. When that's just a win. Okay, Saquon made it through. Protect that man, right? Like, dude, like, what are y'all doing? You know what I mean? So yeah, Judge, like that was the most expected, the last to hear. I think that was the funniest because it was just like, yo, y'all really are y'all playing chicken or what? Like, yeah, nah.
They were really thinking about keeping Mans. They were like, give him one more year. And he only got 2 years, to be fair. And like the second year was mirrored with terrible quarterback issues. So like I kind of feel bad for him in that aspect. Like last year, he kind of turned the team around towards the end of the season. There was a little bit of hope. And then this year, he had no chance with the stuff they went through. Like they were playing Jake Fromm, who got cut from the Colts. It's like their third string quarterback. Like they got a new third string quarterback instead of Jake Fromm, and he was their starter. So like I feel a little bad for Joe Judge because of that. Like,
but the way that they talked about it was that it wasn't just what was happening on field. It was just everything. Which is the phrase that was used was it just got worse every week. Yeah. Like internally,
as soon as we thought we hit rock bottom, we found a new low. They used the word rock bottom. They're like, we kept finding a new rock bottom every week. Yeah,
right. Like, so like that's like, okay, when you get fired that soon, that means you just don't have it together. Like it's just like it's the pieces aren't and the picture is just not clear for everybody. So yeah, like Judge, yeah, it was you tried, bro. He gave it those college try.
All right. Yo, we got to talk about the playoff bracket going in here to Super Wild Card Weekend, and we got the lines for the Super Wild Card Weekend, obviously. But once it's playoff time, I don't care if we win by 1 point. I don't care if we win by 20 points. It's all about the money line because it's win or go home. So we'll talk about the lines a little bit, but I'm real focused on the money line, not about the spreads here. We will start in the AFC with your boys. The Chiefs are playing the Steelers, and I mean, no one expects the Steelers to win this game.
The Steelers don't expect to win this game.
Like the Chiefs are 12.5-point favorites in this game. Like they're expecting a big blowout. The Chiefs are at home. Here's what I'll say. Obviously, I think the Chiefs will win. I actually think the Steelers will cover the 12.5 points. Like they will lose by 12 or less. I just don't feel like they're gonna go out that bad.
They're gonna get skunked.
They might lose by 10. They might lose by 11.
You know what skunked is.
You think they might lose by like 17?
I'm thinking 17, 20.
Oh, look, okay. Based off that one time they met earlier this season, that is a very fortuitous thought. But they've been playing a little bit stronger as of late. Like I feel like they should cover, but they ain't gonna win.
They beat Baker Mayfield on one leg, dog. Like you can't. Like,
and then Huntley and Tyler Huntley, yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Okay, look. You might have
Mike Tomlin's a great coach.
He is, but
a respectable coach. So
I want to believe in their defense. I'm not saying I got a lot of faith in Big Ben here, but I got a little bit of faith in Najee Harris in that run game. They ain't gonna win the game. I just for Ben's sake, hopefully your last game isn't getting 20 pieces by the Chiefs. Like that was what a way to go out.
The fact that he won his last home game in Heinz Field, like I feel like you rest your hat on that, buddy. Because like you said, anytime your quarterback is going into wild card weekend talking about, we just happy to be here, you're not gonna be here long. You're not gonna be here long. That's
all right,
reality.
I'm with you. The next team I got here is the Bengals and the Raiders, yo. I like the Raiders. I like the Raiders to cover the 5.5 point spread. I like the Bengals to win the game, though. Like, that offense is prolific. And it's weird.
Jamar Chase, go ahead.
Different.
Like,
Jamar Chase different. No, talk that shit. Jamar
Yeah.
Chase different. Like the way he put the burners on the Chiefs when y'all play.
We let them have that game. You don't want to go into the playoffs.
On,
listen,
bro.
you don't want to go to the even if they didn't let them have that game, you don't want to go into the playoffs on a like 8-9 game winning streak. You don't want to do that.
I'm not trying to hear we let them have that game. Like they burnt y'all. Joe Burrow was slinging that thing. Yeah, and like the weird thing is the Raiders are like one of the least likely team to play too high safety. So they are really prone to getting beat by the big play. And I think that's going to be a big problem for them trying to keep up with the Bengals. I like the Bengals money line, but I like the Raiders covering the 5.5 point spread.
Yeah, I'm about to go with the Bengals on this one. Like it's because I think the Raiders have gotten here off talent, off just playing really well through adversity. But in order to make a real playoff run, you gotta have y'all shit together. I mean, you're not about to be deep in the playoffs with an interim coach. So
okay, I'm with you there. The last part of the AFC here is the Patriots versus the Bills, and I want to know who you taking first.
I'm gonna be honest, man. It's hard. It's hard to go against Bill Belichick. But I got it. I'm low key. I gotta go with the Bills, man. I gotta go with the Bills.
I'm taking the Patriots as dogs. I like the Patriots +4 here. I like the Patriots money line here. Like here's what I'll say. The first game, everybody will chalk up to the weather for the Bills. The second game, the Bills played really well. And unfortunately, Mac Jones didn't really get it going until it was a little bit too late. I just feel like the Patriots have seen y'all twice, seen y'all at your worst, seen you at your best. Bill's going to have a game plan coming through, and Josh Allen is prone to making mistakes and throwing picks. He's like top 3 in the league in interceptions.
And that's why I don't want to but Mac Jones,
he got to not lose the game. He got to put them in position to put points on the board, and the Patriots have to win the turnover battle. And I like the Patriots, I feel like are liable to pick Josh Allen off twice.
Yeah. And that's why it's difficult. That's why it's difficult.
You pick him off twice.
You throw him off his rhythm. Like Josh Allen is one of those quarterbacks though that like I feel like he's I mean hell like they made it to like the AFC Championship.
Yeah, they lost to y'all.
Yeah, like so it's like Josh Allen has like playoff wins under his belt. He knows the arena. He knows the pressure, right? Mac Jones, we know Bill. Like we know what we're gonna get from Bill. It's probably gonna be 2 picks thrown. But a rookie quarterback, you know what I'm saying, in the playoffs, it's gonna be easier for the Bills to game plan against. I mean, as much as Josh Allen is prone to mistakes, you got a lot of rookie habits that's easy to sit and pick apart in terms of the Bills defense. So, if I'm putting my money behind a quarterback, I gotta do it. I gotta give it to Josh Allen before I give it to Mac Jones.
All right, I got one interesting stat here, which I grabbed from Mina Kimes on Twitter this week. Like, apparently, Josh Allen has a 50% completion completion percentage in freezing weather, and this is going to be a game at -2 degrees, but no real precipitation. So it's not going to rain, it's not going to snow, but it's going to be freezing.
Wet, but it's going to get cold.
Yeah, it's going to be freezing, high winds. Apparently, that is 40th out of 41 QBs over the last 15 seasons.
At that temperature.
Yeah, at freezing temperatures.
But you play in Buffalo.
Which means the sample size has to be quite large. That's actually what that meant. That's actually what that meant to me, is that you play in Buffalo, so the sample size has to be quite large.
Yeah. With that being said, well, I'm gonna go with my pick. Pick integrity. I'm gonna go with my pick. I'm gonna go with the Bills.
Okay, other side of the bracket, NFC. The NFC is a little bit less interesting to me. Like the first game I want to talk about is Philly versus Tampa Bay. I feel very similar to this game as I feel to like the Steelers and Chiefs, right? Like
Yeah.
I feel like Tampa Bay is gonna come up and it's gonna kind of kick you in your shit. Like they're 8.5-point favorites. I actually think I will take Tampa at the 8.5 points.
Regardless if they have Fournette or not or anybody else, yes.
Philly
That's
is a
the easy
run
one.
first team. That's what they're
Yeah.
dedicated to doing. And unfortunately, Tampa Bay is one of the top run defenses in the league.
Yeah.
So, like, they play well to Philly's strengths. Philly is prone to making some mistakes and stalling out. That Tampa Bay defense, at least the front end of it, can be very opportunistic. I don't see Tom Brady going out in the first round here. Yeah, even though they're down some weapons. Like he got Gronk. Gronk looked really good last week. He looked healthier than he's looked in a
Tom Brady
while.
and Gronk could beat them by themselves.
Yeah, he still got Mike Evans too. Like they game for some real damage. I like them.
I'm ready to talk about the NFC East. Anyway, I mean, I guess we can start here. Okay.
I mean, NFC East got one team in there. They playing it's Dallas, and they playing the 49ers.
But I mean, I'm in terms of what I'm saying, who like that the NFC East competition, you feel me? Like they really don't. It's I and even when we'll get to the Cowboys, but yeah, just I don't really need to waste too much more time. Bucks.
No, like we going straight into the Cowboys. I'm saying like they got one more team that's going to the Cowboys. Cowboys play the 49ers.
Yeah.
Who you taking?
That one. I'm not a big fan of Jimmy. I'm not a big fan of Jimmy G. I think even with him not accomplishing what he's accomplished, I still think he's overrated. I still think he's overrated. But the thing about that is Dak Prescott cuts his teeth on the NFC East. Mm-hmm. Like he looks great against the NFC East and other losing teams. Dak Prescott does not. Right. Dak Prescott does not like he doesn't shine against the Chiefs. Right? He doesn't shine against like I think they beat the Cardinals though, right? They did beat the Cardinals.
No, the Cardinals pushed their shit in. They played the Cardinals, I want to say like 3 weeks ago. I want to say they lost to the Cardinals.
One. Oh no, they lost to the Cardinals. They did beat one above 500 team.
Who do they probably got they beat the Patriots. They beat the Patriots. Dak throws that game-winning touchdown. Like I want to say it's either to end OT or at the end of regulation. Dak throws a game-winning touchdown to CeeDee Lamb, and I think they had to go to OT with the Patriots.
I mean, so he has a win, right? Like, but in terms of like really beating quality teams, you don't really see it too often, and so I'm gonna have to go with the 49ers though.
We're on the same page. I got the 49ers +3 and money line. I'm with you. Yeah. Like I like the Niners. The Niners are a team that was really up and down this year, but Jimmy G got hurt like at 2 separate occasions. They had to play Trey Lance. He's a rookie. He was the rawest rookie of all the rookies that was in the draft.
The least amount of starts.
Like one season plus an exhibition game. That's it. He played one season 2 years ago, like 2 years before he was drafted. The year before he was drafted, he played one exhibition game because of COVID. And that was it. So, like, they are actually in quite kind of like a struggle situation. But when they get Jimmy G playing and on the field, this team wins a lot. This team's running game is ridiculous.
That's why they win.
Yes, it is.
That's why they win. That's why whenever you listen, Joe Flacco was able to maintain a career by having a good run game and a great defense. He looked phenomenal.
Oh, okay. That is true. Jimmy G does just enough in that offense, and he don't frequently try to do too much, and the Kyle Shanahan just schemes well. Like, what is Dallas going to do with Deebo Samuels? Like, that's the thing for me. And
what
Kittle,
position is he going to play? Or are they gonna have him at wide receiver, or are they gonna keep him at running back?
They're gonna have him at both. He's gonna be giving them reverses. He's
like
gonna be all
George
over
Kittle.
the place.
Yeah.
And like, do you have Micah Parsons on George Kittle because he can keep up as a linebacker because of his speed? And if that's the case, who's rushing Jimmy G?
Like, yeah, you have to. Micah Parsons has to rush, but when you flip it and you look at San Francisco on the defensive side of the ball, they just as deadly. Them Bosa boys don't play. They just as deadly. Like if you just having the last name Bosa, just make you
it's like the last name Watt.
Right. It's like you a monster.
Yeah.
You a monster. Well, no, what's in y'all pair of jeans? But goddamn.
They was making football players. Yeah, right. They was making DNs. The last game, this was the hardest of all the games for me to call. The Cardinals are playing the Rams. And this one gave me trouble. Like legitimate, like I was kind of concerned, wasn't all too sure who was going to win. And I am leaning towards the Rams at this moment.
Leaning towards the Rams. I'm gonna go. I'm not. To be honest, I'm not even leaning. I'm going Rams.
Like my big thing was like we ain't really seen DeAndre Hopkins. Like that's the thing for me that I feel kind of decides this game is like.
And I trust McVay more so to put together a complete game in the wild like this early in the playoffs than I do
Cliff Kingsbury.
The other guy. Kingsbury, yeah. Because I just feel like they have the talent, but they don't have the consistency. Like they're great in spurts, and I don't think right now they're at where they were like when Kyler Murray was considered MVP. But I think Matthew Stafford, I think he's more seasoned. I think I just think he success story. I mean, you posted something about it on Facebook, I think, and I fucked with it because I'm just like Matthew Stafford is just like finally. You know what I mean? Like they called him Stat Pafford. So you know what I'm saying for so long because it was like they said the only reason his numbers look good was because garbage minutes. You know
yes,
and
indeed.
So he comes to a big market, big team, right? A lot of expectations, big names on offense and defense, and he fits in just fine. He has his issues, right? Like he can be turnover heavy, interception prone. He can force the ball. We know this. You know what I mean? Interceptions.
That's the problem with those big arm quarterbacks.
Yeah, you
they think they can do anything. Yeah,
but the fact that he still got like he 10 years in the game. You know what I'm saying? Like we forget. Like that was our old Georgia big name. You know what I'm saying? Matthew Stafford. Now you know, they got their national championship. But
he was doing a lot of the stuff Mahomes was doing, but it just he wasn't winning no games, so nobody
wasn't
cared.
Winning any games. Yeah. You know, I mean, and you know, he had that time with Megatron, which really made him look bad because it's like, damn, you got the best receiver in the history of the game. Man.
But look, Megatron was eating. Like Matt Stafford is responsible for the two greatest seasons by a wide receiver in NFL history. Like, and they super different type of receivers. Like Megatron was put two dudes on me, just throw the 50-50 ball. What they gonna do, right? And Cooper Kupp is like intricate route running, placement of the ball, etc. Like it is. Yeah. His talent is ridiculous. Yeah. I feel like he has to show out. I feel like it's more dire for the Rams to show out than it is for the Cardinals.
They got a lot more to prove.
Yeah.
Like I think we're all still kind of lenient on the Cardinals, and we're not really beating them up that much for the collapse that they had. You know what I mean?
They made it to the playoffs finally.
Right. Like if they would have missed the playoffs, it would have been bad.
Yeah, college in like year 3, so it's Cliff, and they're like, all right, you made it to the playoffs, you got consistently better as you went on. If y'all went out, it's not devastating, but if the Rams go out after like all the win now moves they made, it's like, first round exit. That's what y'all trade all the picks for.
And don't let it be like interception heavy. Odell is Odell a problem here too? Was he trying to force it?
Stafford is solely responsible for a lot of those picks he throws to in Odell's direction. Like, I won't even say he throws to Odell. Odell is just somewhere in the radius, and they're like, all right,
they
it's
snatch it
Odell.
up.
Yeah, like come on, Odell out here playing DB sometimes when Matt Stafford
Mhm.
throws the ball. Like, all right, so we got our first round out of the way. We come into the conference semis. We then it seems like we are a little bit split on who faces the Chiefs next. Is it going to be the Bills or is it going to be the Patriots? To be fair, I don't think it particularly matters for me personally at this moment. Like, I still think the Chiefs will win that game. I
beat
think that,
either the Bills or the Patriots.
yes, yeah. I do think the Chiefs end up being victorious. I honestly believe that the Patriots might have a better chance than the Bills because of the strength of their defense. And Kansas City at this point is not the same Kansas City we used to know, right? They're not like the infinite juggernaut. They will make mistakes. They will turn over the ball. They can stall out. And the Patriots defense is the style of defense that can play that too high safety and give you trouble with corners like J.C. Jackson on the low end. So I think the Chiefs want the Bills to win. Like,
because you don't want to see Bill Belichick. Andy Reid don't want to see Bill Belichick. Like let's just be honest. But at the same time, do you want to see Josh Allen?
I think you rather see Josh Allen than you rather see the Patriots defense
than the Patriots defense. I don't want to see. I think we're gonna see Josh Allen. I don't want to see Josh Allen.
Okay, you rather see Mac Jones and just let
I'd
your
rather
defense
see Mac
feast.
Jones. Yeah, because I think that we'll have our defense will have more issues with with Josh Allen. I mean, we have we've seen.
Yeah, I rather
we've
have
seen what happened.
Don't you think the Chiefs want to be in a shootout? That's the thing I always thought. Like, they're like, it's a shootout. We would like to. Besides that game with the Bengals, because Joe Burrow was killing it. But like most of the times, if you're like the game is going to be a shootout, I think Mahomes is like, that'd be great. Like, y'all want a shootout? Let's go.
We want to be last on the field. We do want to be last on the field. We do want to be last on the field. But I think, and with Bill Belichick and him, they really gonna grind it out. It's really gonna be a grind out game. But the thing about it is, I by fooling with our defense, you don't know if if literally we'll have that opportunity. Like, cause you think about if you think about the times the Chiefs have been knocked out of the playoffs, these last few years, or really just the time they were knocked out because they've been to the championship the last 2 years. I mean, that's when Patrick Mahomes got to sit on the sideline and watch Tom Brady just eat the field up, or shit. I mean, we had a lot of issues with our offensive line.
That was the big thing to me,
right? And which to be fair, that was, but Tom Brady ate.
Yeah,
he ate, he chopped. And then Leonard Fournette ate. It was just a 1-2 punch that we just could not handle.
Yeah, so Tom was calling him playoff Lenny,
man,
because of the way he was eating.
Listen, and so the thing about it is, we'll have that grind out, having that grind out game. I think if we can score quickly, which is something I do think it'd be difficult with Bill Belichick. I mean, because it's Bill Belichick, it's the AFC. He knows what the fuck he's dealing with. I think we'll be straight. But what worries me the most is our defense.
Mm-hmm.
What worries me the most is our defense. We look good against a lot of teams that we should have looked good against, but we had that stretch where we could not stop motherfuckers that really gave us that work. So,
all right, other side of the bracket, you get the Bengals, which we are both in agreement on, getting the first round bye Titans. And with my assumption here was clearly on the I believe Derrick Henry will return in force. It's not like he tore an ACL. It's not like he had an Achilles issue. He broke a bone in his foot. And when he broke that bone in his foot, he still finished the game after he did it, right? And I feel like if Derrick Henry comes back as Derrick Henry, I'm taking the Titans to win that game over the Bengals. Now, if Derrick Henry comes back and he's not able to get going and he can't break off the big Derrick Henry run, I do think the Bengals are hell alive. And that is going to be, I feel like, what the game comes down to for them.
For me, I think it's going to be a question of how much faith do I have in Mike Vrabel? Defensive guy. Can you look at what Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase have been able to do all season? And really like put a cap on that. Like you got somebody that could throw up like 5 touchdowns, easy, right? Like, can you? I mean, and you know the guy that Tannehill can't do that. Tannehill's not gonna give you 5 touchdowns.
He probably not.
He may give you 3. I mean, but really, like you said, if Derrick Henry back, you want to be running the ball anyway,
and you want to eat the clock up and keep Gerald Burrow and that offense off the field.
Exactly. And so I go with Mike. I go with Mike Vrabel and the Titans. I think that with a defensive minded guy like that, the goal is limit the opportunities to score, limit the amount of time Joe Burrow gets to stay on the field, regardless of whether or not they have Derrick Henry. You know what I mean? They figure it out. And so I think that that experience that Mike Vrabel has, the experience that they have as a team, I think they pull it out.
Okay. That would lead to that. Our conference finals, Titans v Chiefs. I know what you gonna say. Right?
Yeah.
Like 3rd straight Super Bowl for Patty Mahomes. But again, this like I honestly feel like this is kind of the Titans window. Like I do in fact think the Titans can beat the Chiefs. The Titans have the safeties.
I mean, they have.
The Chiefs. They have the safeties. They have the running game if Henry is going, and I do believe that this obviously all depends on how Henry looks. And when we talk again next week, you know, like we'll see at him in that first game. But I think the Titans can beat the Chiefs and go to the Super Bowl. Like, and that's the culmination of everything they were looking for when they made that Julio Jones trade. Now I know you don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean, well, I think they have a shot. I'm not delusional. I'm not delusional. Like, I mean, I think it's all a question of, I mean, we can handle Tannehill. It's a question of how healthy is Derrick Henry. We can handle Tannehill. How question is like, you know, so if I mean Derrick Henry come back and he like dogging, I think that we'll have a problem because we struggle against the run. Like we struggle against teams that can really push the ball. And so if it's just Tannehill we got to deal with, keep him to 14, maybe even give up 17 points. We can beat them by we could put
that's
up
a game you can win.
And be straight. Yeah, we could win that game if we give up 17. But if we give up 17 and they killing us in time of possession, you know what I mean, and we got 6 or 9, it's a bad
Derrick
look.
Henry breaks off like a 60-yarder, and that 17 now becomes like a 24.
24, yeah. In the middle of the third quarter. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a problem. So I give it to the Chiefs, even with a healthy Derrick Henry. But like if Derrick Henry come at like 75% and it's really on Tannehill to really put them ahead, I think we good.
Okay. I'm with you. We'll flip over to the NFC. We got the conference semis going. We are both on Rams and Tampa winning in the wild card, which puts them to head up against each other. And I think this is where Tampa Bay would actually falter and take the L. I think this is where not having that third receiver or just pass catcher and Chris Godwin or Antonio Brown, etc., will really come and bite you in the ass when you try to have a fireworks show with the Rams. Yeah. Like their back end of the Tampa Bay defense is bad. They've been trying to rely on Richard Sherman, who couldn't get healthy. Like they are struggling, and now you got it. And when you played them the first time, you were trying to cover Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, and Robert Woods is no slouch. But now you're trying to cover Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah,
It's different. Like now, Aaron Donald has Von Miller on the other side of him, and they're trying to
Yes.
get at Tom Brady. Like they
Yes.
can make him uncomfortable. They can
Come
put up the
on.
points. Cam Akers is back. Like I actually think the Rams could beat the Tampa Bay in the conference semis.
Yeah, nah, I'm going with the Rams all the way. I think Tom Brady is like he's great. He's great, but he can only do so much. He can only do so much. And we know that he needs his weapons. No Antonio Brown, right? No Godwin. I mean, like
Maybe no Fournette.
Right. Maybe no Leonard Fournette. Like that's a problem. Leonard Fournette was big in the Super Bowl. Like he dogged. like and so to not have that, like it's a lot more. Tom Brady has to rely on Gronk a lot more, and that like it's gonna be easier to limit what they can do. And when you got this, the Rams just got like they spent money on this defense for a reason, like for this game to put pressure on Tom Brady. And so with their offense being limited due to these injuries and niggas getting naked on the field, I think the Rams gonna break through. I think they're gonna break through.
That leaves us with the 49ers versus Green Bay on that side of the bracket.
Rematch.
And I think this time Green Bay ain't going. Like this time, Green Bay is not going to get ran off the field by a more physical team that can run the ball because they started building their team to look like that 49ers team instead with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones bruising, being able to run.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. Like, I don't think the 49ers have what it takes this year to beat Green Bay the way they've been playing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that defense, like we was talking about with Bosa, you have to be concerned about the pressure that they can create. But I think Green Bay. I think if anything, this is what Green Bay is prepared for. This is what they put it together for. Like if it's any game that you got circled, if it's anybody that you worried about, this is who you game plan for. So, I'm a big star guy in the playoffs, whether it's the NBA or the NFL. Like, I go with the big names because they big names for a reason. And I think Aaron Rodgers has a lot to prove. A lot to prove.
He wants to get out that conference semis, out that conference finals, and into that Super Bowl finally.
And he petty. He know they should have won last season.
he ain't stopped thinking about that one. But if we got Green Bay there, then Green Bay plays the Rams. And I actually feel real iffy about Green Bay versus the Rams. But I believe in Green Bay and more than I believe in the Rams because Green Bay does not make the same number of mistakes as the Rams make. Aaron Rodgers does not turn over the ball. Like, right. Matthew Stafford is liable to throw one or two picks.
Yeah.
And that is just, it's just.
But, I wanna agree with you. I mean, I know Stafford's gonna throw, give up the ball. He's gonna do that. My only thing is, I really like that Rams defense. I really like that Rams defense. Like when you talk about Von Miller and Aaron Donald,
Jalen Ramsey is gonna shadow Devontae Adams all game.
Jalen Ramsey, like what do you say? Like that's a big three in football on one side of the field at every level. What are we doing? Like that is scary, bro. That is scary. That is scary. And I think because Odell Beckham, everybody want to see how Odell Beckham and Matthew Stafford work, that they've gotten the lion's share of the conversation. But I think this Rams defense has been slept on. So I take the Rams beating Green Bay.
Green Bay loses in the third straight NFC championship. Then, like, oof.
Yeah,
that'll be a tough one. So our Super Bowl picks are a little iffy here because we are disagreeing kind of on both sides. Yeah. Like we could see if like you was right, we would see Chiefs v Rams. If I was right, we see Titans versus Green Bay. Right. Yeah. So we can leave it at that, right? and just like who knows where it's going to come. There's a lot to happen through there, but that is like where our playoff bracket is for right now. And I like leaving it there because we were pretty much on the same side on most things up until that kind of very end point. And
That
like
last
that's
one,
what
you got
makes
too
the
much
football
faith in Aaron
interesting.
Rodgers, man. You got way too much faith in Aaron Rodgers.
Well, to be fair, I think he might win back-to-back MVPs. So like,
I do think he should win MVP. I do think he should win
like
MVP.
that might be well-placed faith in that situation. Now, they do like giving it up the goods in the conference finals. So like, what like that would be kind of poetic if they lose to the Rams again. Let's keep it to like the last thing we got going on here, and this is like best and worst of free agency, right? Just like it's really important because a lot of these deals are long-term deals. So what can look terrible now might look better in 1 or 2 years, right? But some of these things just look objectively bad or objectively good, like vice versa. Some things that look really good now could look terrible. And I want to start with Bill Belichick because when free agency happened, day one, Bill Belichick opened up the checkbook. Well, sorry, Bill Belichick opened up Robert Kraft's checkbook and started playing Monopoly. Like,
black card.
Yeah. Like, and to be fair, they had one of the best free agent signings of the year. Like, they signed Mathieu Judon off of the Ravens for 4 years, $56 million. And that was a huge payday. Huge payday for Mathieu Judon. And he has lived up to that contract in this first year. He had 12 and a half sacks, 14 tackles for a loss, 25 quarterback hits, and 60 total tackles. He was tied 7th in the league for sacks. So, like, he was playing up to that money a lot. Now, on the other side of things, they gave Jonnu Smith 4 years and $50 million. He only has 28 catches and less than 300 yards. Like, they gave him $12.5 million for this year to get less than 300 yards and a single touchdown.
Yeah.
They gave Hunter Henry 3 years and $38 million on the other side of the field for 2 tight ends. And he has over 600 yards, 50 catches, and 9 TDs. And he's making like significantly less money. Like he's making like 12 and a half a year. So like Bill took a lot of swings here. He missed on some, like I think he hit on Hunter Henry. I think he hit on Mathieu Judon, but he missed on Jonnu Smith, and he also missed on Nelson Aguilar, who got a 2-year, $22 million deal. Only $11 million, but he had 473 yards, 3 TDs. They overpaid for subpar production from Nelson Aguilar, and like he was decent on the Raiders. Like that Raiders season was actually quite good for him, but like consistently, especially in his Eagles career, like this is about what you should have expected from bruh. Like,
I didn't want to bring up his Eagles career. Just because, like, bro, when you become a meme because a man saves like what was a baby or something. Like somebody jumped out a window and a man caught him like out of a fire and was like, "Yeah, I caught the baby." Unlike Nelson Aguilar for the for the Eagles, like damn, bro. You know what I mean? So that means like you got to work on them hands. So but I think when it comes to the predicament that Bill Belichick and them was in, you got to swing for the fences when you got young talent. Yeah, I mean you want to put the right pieces around them, and if Bill Belichick has been able to do anything right, is get the right pieces that's good enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's good enough. There's certain names that people are tossing around the term Hall of Fame simply because Bill Belichick put them in a position to, always, get their stats up. So I try, even when Bill do shit like I trust him. Like, you with that type of experience, you trust him. Shit.
I didn't think the Jonnu Smith contract was bad at first. And granted, it's a 4-year contract. So that's kind of one of those, like, it could end up looking better and it's a slow start. And, like, it just, the production for costs is not great. It's not great. There are some other players in here and there, like on my, like, best list. I had, like, Marvin Jones Jr., another wide receiver. For, like, comparison to Nelson Aguilar, who was at a 2-year, $14 million deal. So he's making about $4 million less a year than Nelson Aguilar. He was easily the most consistent wide receiver on the Jacksonville Jaguars, giving Trevor Lawrence stability. He got like seriously, he had 73 catches, 830 yards, 4 TDs. Like that was very good value on a team where nothing went right. So like you could have gotten Marvin Jones Jr.
Yeah, like 800 yards with the Jaguars.
Exactly.
That's not bad.
That's great considering everything they went through.
Right.
Like, so like when I look at that comparative value for a player like Marvin Jones Jr., you could have paid significantly less for, etc. But it's all hindsight, right? On a similar length of a deal. A guy that I really want to talk about was a guy the Bengals took a massive chance on out of New Orleans, Trey Hendrickson, defensive end. They gave him a 4-year, $60 million deal. This is a huge, huge gamble because, like, Trey Hendrickson, all his career, first 4 years, the first 3 years, relatively middling, and I don't want to be rude about that. But contract year, right? And everybody wants to talk about how players play up to that contract year, right?
Mm-hmm.
He played up to that contract year with the Saints. He got 13 and a half sacks on that contract year. The Saints did not want to pay him, probably because of the things they saw the first 3 years, right? Bengals gave him the bag, and it paid off. Like, he ended up getting 14 sacks this year, 3 forced fumbles, 12 tackles for a loss, 27 quarterback hits, and, like, it's still early into a 4-year deal, but it looks like that last year in New Orleans was not a flash in the pan, and it was more of, like, what we should expect to see to come, double-digit DN.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you see progress too. Like when you go to new system, new organization, and you add on to like the momentum that you was already carrying. I mean, shit. I feel like the Bengals is just making, like, ever since they got rid of Marvin Lewis, they just started just making good decisions. They just putting shit together well. You know what I mean? Like you don't get to where you don't get to this position. I mean, without like being able to see shit like that. And I mean, shit, you got you a DN that could get you 14 sacks.
That's huge. Like everybody's looking for that shit.
Right.
Like the Raiders were still looking for that shit after losing Khalil Mack up until this year when they got Yannick Ngakoue, who gave them 10. And like, to be fair, he's on a 2-year, 26 mil. That was another one of my high, like, really good free agency signings. Now, there are 2 players.
I'll say this too though about the Bengals. They draft a lot of Sooners. I don't know if they have somebody like in their front office that went to OU or what it was, but they draft a lot of OU players. Mixon, Tyrann, tight ends from back in the day. It's been a lot of OU players that ended up with the Bengals. So I low key fuck with them.
OU is a good like football factory school.
Yeah.
All right, there are 2 players, and these 2 players I think are far and beyond the best free agency signings of the year just for value. And the first one is Cordell Patterson for the Falcons. He was on a 1-year, $3 million deal. He had 618 rush yards, 6 rushing TDs, 550 receiving yards, and 5 receiving TDs. That's like 11 touchdowns and over 1,100 all-purpose yards for $3 million.
Yeah.
That shows you how bad Matt Nagy of a coach was. Like, Matt Nagy ruined his value that much. He goes on a 1-year prove-it deal to the Falcons and puts up otherworldly numbers.
Yeah, I mean, again though, like that's why Matt Nagy doesn't have a job. Like, I mean, one of the key things that we got to pay attention to is like, shit, these head coaches is about recognizing and developing talent. Like,
knowing what to do with it.
Right, utilize. I was about to say, utilizing talent. That's one of the most underrated, underappreciated. You got to get, because it's always about whether or not somebody's fit, and it's like, nah, if you got great talent, you got to figure out how to get them in there and make what changes is necessary. And when Matt Nagy just didn't seem up to, up to that challenge. So
the second one for me, I'm with you there, is James Conner, who signed with the Arizona Cardinals for like a 1-year, $1.75 million contract. That is ridiculous for what he did this year. He had 750 rush yards and 15 rushing touchdowns. 15 of them on a less than $2 million deal. Another 375 through the air and another 3 touchdowns. Like,
yeah, see, but he came from 6 touchdowns the season before though. So it's like,
but that I think he kind of got screwed by that Pittsburgh offensive line.
yeah,
It was really bad. Like they had to redo it this season, right? Because of how bad it was. So like they redid the offensive line and drafted Najee Harris, right? Which Najee Harris is fantastic, good draft pick, love it. Can't say anything negative about him. But James Conner got like a raw end of a stick by running behind a line that couldn't block for anything, and we all knew they couldn't block for anything. Like he made less than $100,000 for each touchdown he scored this season.
yeah. I mean, and he was actually off to a pretty high start, like because what was that back in 2018? 12 touchdowns.
Yeah, he was
12 to 4 to 6. You know what I mean? Like that next contract is usually like, you gotta see something. Yeah, we gotta see something.
He better get paid now though, like 15 rushing touchdowns. Like he's probably gonna get picked up by somebody. That deal should pay off. Flip side, I gotta talk about the worst free agent signing of this year was Kenny Golladay. Yo, 4 years, $72 million for the Giants. And like people will say he was hurt, right? But you got to remember, he played 14 games this season, 14 of 17, and had 0 touchdowns for $18 million this season. 0 touchdowns and like 521 yards. He kind of gave you like Nelson Aguilar numbers for $18 million.
Yeah.
Like 0.
But I mean, but then again, like receive. It's always hard for me. I'm always the most sympathetic to receivers because they are the most dependent position.
Mm-hmm.
Running backs, they just hand on the ball. Like if they fuck up the handoff, you know what I'm saying, the pitch, like that's a lot, right? But we got to get. I need you to get it 60 yards. You know what I'm saying? And I need it done right. And Danny Dimes just wasn't what it was. You know what I mean? And so as much as I'm like, I'm these are the moments where this bad on the behalf of the organization because it's a talent. The whole reason why you brought him there was to be a weapon for a quarterback that needs weapons. But if everything else ain't right, like you can't just stick somebody in there and be like, all right, well, now you got somebody to throw it to. Everything should be smooth. It's like, that's a lot more.
I feel you, but he got outplayed by Kadarius Toney, who's a rookie. Nah, I'm just leave it at that.
Because who was the who was the name? Who was the name?
Look, the quarterbacks were bad no matter what.
What happened with this? Like I feel like Juju Smith-Schuster is a perfect example of like how wide receivers really have it bad in terms of perception. When Antonio Brown was there, Juju Smith-Schuster, great numbers, like game ball, team MVP. Now what are they doing with Juju? 1-year deals, nigga, get off TikTok. You know what I mean? Like,
yo, the get off TikTok is real though.
Yeah. Yeah, like Galladay, like that was the known weapon. So like, hey, who do we got to? Okay, so we gonna make sure he don't go off. But I mean, and that's also not to say that like he is without any blame. But I do feel like with wide receivers, I always I'm a little bit more sympathetic to them. Especially, I'm glad when they get their bag. But you got to recognize they really dependent in what they do. So.
My last one here is Andy Dalton. Like there are so many reasons why Andy Dalton was one of the worst free agent pickups of the season. And a lot of them aren't really because of Andy Dalton. That's the worst part. It's like we paid Andy Dalton. We promised to start Andy Dalton, which limited the development of Justin Fields. But also we paid and decided to start Andy Dalton when we already had Nick Foles on our roster. So like it wasn't like we needed Andy Dalton. Like We already he was already paying Nick Foles. Like we paid that man Nick Foles to I think play one game this season. And then slice it up with the third stringers, as he says. Like there was just no sense around the Andy Dalton thing. Like this is like a pro Andy Dalton take, but unfortunately, this is an anti-Bears take because
okay, so you flipped it because I was making I had a I was anti-Giants. I feel like the Giants is your fault.
Yeah,
right.
It's just like I don't got nothing against Andy Dalton, but you spent the 12th pick on a quarterback. You moved up in the draft, gave your next year first round pick. And then you were like, oh, well, Andy Dalton, he's QB1. that probably accelerated the firing of Nagy and Pace so much. So those are my best.
And that's also why I said that Andy Dalton is not fucking Alex Smith. like Justin Fields was not going to sit behind Andy Dalton and just develop and get that much better by watching fucking Andy Dalton. It just wasn't going to work like that. Like he needs.
I honestly believe that if Andy Dalton did not get hurt, we would have tried it. Like Matt Nagy would have tried it. Like I can't shake the feeling that if Andy Dalton doesn't go down, Matt Nagy definitively would have tried it. Would have tried to ride with them. So let's move on to the final segment. Let's
not play, boy.
All right, welcome to the final segment of the show, the heart of the show, Ballers Bouquets. Too often in the media, people only want to focus on the negative and salacious things athletes do and never want to give them their credit where credit is due. Here I like to make a change. And this week's Ballers Bouquet goes to Tyrann Mathieu of the Kansas City
Chiefs. Let's go.
For his Tyrann Mathieu Foundation. Look, Tyrann Mathieu of the Chiefs does a lot through this foundation, but the one thing that I really, really want to focus on is his initiative, Tyrann's Teachers. And this is really important because what he likes to do yearly is people nominate their teachers all over the Kansas City metro area, and he has his organization hand deliver 32 gift baskets to these teachers that get nominated. Right. And it's not like these gift baskets are super expensive or anything, but it's about the message that he is trying to send that the teachers are important. Right. Teachers are some of the most underappreciated, hardest working people in our society that we give the job of shaping our youth. They are underpaid. They are undersupported. They go through the roughest of conditions, especially considering COVID. And it is just something that it's important. Like a lot of the times on the Ballers Bouquet, I like to focus on the things that athletes do for the children, and that is in and of itself important. But teachers are so frequently unseen for their struggle in America that having this type of initiative is extremely important and deserves its credit. But on the flip side, he also does a Shark Tank kind of version with Teach for America in Kansas City. And what he does is he has teachers in the Kansas City metro area basically pitch ideas for projects to improve their schools, their classrooms, and the learning experience of their students. And panels of sharks, including Tyrann Mathieu, basically have a set of funds that they then distribute to the teachers that have the best ideas. And it's important because teachers spend over $1 billion of their own dollars each year to support their own classrooms because of how underfunded they are. They are already underpaid and then use their salary that's already too small in the first place to then support other people's children and their learning experience. So these are two things that Tyrann Mathieu does that focus on just giving back to teachers who are kind of the bedrock of our foundation in society.
And Kansas City needed.
Yeah.
Kansas City needed. We just got our school just got our schools back credited. To be clear, you know what I'm saying. So
Elaborate.
Every year or during a certain period of time, they assess how well students are performing, and based on their performance, the district as a whole is either it's either it's pretty much graded on how well the students are like what type of outcomes they're producing, and so the state accreditation kind of speaks to saying that this district is a district that the state stands behind. Like we recognize that they meet the metrics of being a productive institution. Kansas City schools lost their accreditation from the state. So in both at different times, but in both Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas City, Missouri. So because those things are separate. So I think it's in Kansas City, Kansas, they just recently got their accreditation back. So the school that I graduated from was not accredited at the time where I graduated, Central High School. So like that, so for me to be able to go to college and do whatever else, that was all on my own. They ain't have shit to do because when I got my diploma, when I graduated, it ain't mean nothing. You know what I mean? So to have people in Kansas City invested, like especially the athletes, because I mean growing up there was nothing that I ever experienced like that. Like you had Chiefs players that kind of gave back, but to this extent, especially like geared towards educating the students in schools and projects that help grow these environments. It's great to see it, especially from like a winning Kansas City Chiefs team. Because when I was a kid, the Chiefs sucked. So.
So this is kind of the reason why I want to talk about Tyrann Mathieu here. Like the Tyrann Mathieu Foundation does a bunch of other great stuff. They do back to school shopping sprees where they help a bunch of kids 6 to 17 with the Boys and Girls Club at Kansas City. They do like food distribution drives during the holidays for like Thanksgiving where they give out like 5,000 meals, 500, not 1,000, 500 meals. That was that extra zero means a lot. Like, and like other things like that. But this is important because Kansas City is an area where they actually just accredited everybody that's 18 years or older with a high school diploma to be a substitute teacher.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that happened today. Like today, they were like, if you're 18 with a diploma, you can teach high school. We need it. We need it bad. We need it bad. We need that, like they needed that bad, and that's like because like teachers are flocking out of the education industry at a massive rate because of all the things that we've talked about: underpaid, undersupported, terrible work conditions, etc. So,
especially in the state of Kansas, they make no investment in it either. Like the state makes no investment in it. So, like, see why.
So that's why this week's Ballers Bouquet goes to Tyrann Mathieu for trying to make things a little bit better for some of the most important people in our society. And that was it for episode 66 of the Flyer Out podcast. This motherfucker was long. Like I might have to cut this shit up a special way.
You will.
Yeah. I might have to cut this up a special way, but it was fantastic. Thank you, Domo, for joining us. I appreciate you. Let everybody know where they can find you. They can follow you at.
For sure. I mean, hey, thanks. First, I appreciate it, bro. Like being here, you know what I'm saying? Going over it with you, you feel me? Like your expertise is definitely needed. Great, you know what I mean? Conversation. Cause like I said, in the beginning, I'm more casual. You feel me? Like I stay on top of what I stay on top of. Like I get a lot of push notifications, so I do a lot of reading. But y'all can find me at The Political Plug on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can also check me out on The Chop Up Show on YouTube. Check us out on Instagram and Spotify, as well as Apple Podcasts at The Chop Up Show.
Chop Up Show every Monday, right?
Yeah, every Monday.
Let people know when they can hit y'all up. Y'all are live. They interact with all their listeners. Y'all can comment on things through their YouTube because it's live on YouTube. They be showing the comments, getting to y'all, giving y'all like everything that you need to know through like culture, daily things that are going on for people of like all types, but especially Black people. It's a show that I really enjoy. I want y'all to check it out. For all of my listeners, wherever you're on Spotify, Apple Music, Audia, YouTube, etc., I appreciate each and every single one of y'all, and I cannot wait to give you episode 67 next week. Thanks for stopping by. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, leave a subscribe so you don't